2차 세계대전의 전범국인 독일과 일본. 하지만 그 이후로 두 나라는 아주 다른 행보를 보였습니다. 독일은 히틀러 나치 등을 찬양하거나 전범기나 하켄크로이츠를 사용하는 것은 위법행위로 간주해 강력히 금하고 있습니다. 그러나 일본은 우기 승천기를 아무렇지도 않는 양 사용할 뿐만 아니라 14명의 A급 전쟁 범죄인과 전사한 군인들을 기리는 야스쿠니 신사참배를 하고 있습니다. 2013년엔 일본 총리 아베가 신사참배를 강행해 국제사회의 비난을 받기도 했습니다. 독일은 철저한 자기 반성과 올바른 역사 교육을 하고 있는데요. 유대인 학살 등 자신들의 모든 가오를 적나라하게 가르치며 정부가 잘못한 게 있으면 분명하게 비판하고 반대해야 한다고 가르치고 있습니다. 반면에 일본은 위안부를 자발적 매취라 주장하며 독도에 대한 영유권 주장, 그리고 식민 지배를 위한 침략 전쟁이 아닌 서양으로부터 아시아를 해방시키기 위한 전쟁이라 주장하고 있습니다. 난징 대학살, 광동 대학살, 위안부, 731 부대 마루타 생체 실험. 이런 전쟁 범죄들을 축소, 생략하는 등 자신들의 역사를 올바르게 보지 못하고 철저히 미화하거나 왜곡된 역사를 가르치고 있습니다. 그래서 독일 국민들과는 다르게 일부 일본 국민들은 그릇된 역사관을 가지고 있거나 아예 이 사안에 대해 무지한 경우가 많습니다. 결국 이 모든 것들이 과오에 대한 사죄를 안 하는 결과로 귀결되었습니다. 그렇다면 독일인과 외국인들은 일본인을 어떻게 생각할까요? 일본도 독일처럼 전범국가란 사실을 알고 있었나요?
I don't know that much about Japan.
Yeah.
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 Right, yes.
독일과는 다르게 일본은 진정성 있는 사죄를 안 하고 있다는 것 알고 있었나요? 이에 대해 어떻게 생각하세요?
No, I didn't know.
I know about that.
Yes.
I didn't know it before.
Yes.
Like a dark section in their history, kind of.
Yeah.
So they might just want to ignore everything concerning it. If they would admit, they need to apologize because they did some bad things back then. But if they
Yeah.
just ignore it, there's no need to apologize. Germany apologized, and that's definitely the right thing because they committed a lot of really bad crimes back at Second World War. So did Japan. If they didn't apologize, yeah, that's a bad thing.
Japan should apologize as well. I heard Japanese people do not think that they did something wrong because they teach them in school that actually Japan didn't do anything wrong. I have some German friends and I know from them that they really teach them from young age what German did, and they also tell them that they should not be proud that they are Germans, which is also a bit bad, I think, because like German people are really not proud they are Germans these days.
만약에 독일인이 당신에게 과거 침략에 대해 찬양하는 발언을 하면 어떻게 되죠?
I will feel really bad, and I think I can call police actually. Like in Europe, if Germans would say that, I think you can call police.
It's not at all acceptable that they didn't do it yet. Maybe some time ago I didn't know it at all, but I just got to know it through this documentary about Korean comfort women, that actually Japan never apologized for what they did to Korean comfort women. That they donated money, but they didn't really apologize.
대체적으로 유럽인들은 일본이 독일처럼 전범국이란 사실을 아나요?
Yeah. Yeah.
유럽인들은 일본이 과거사에 대한 진정성 있는 사죄를 하지 않는다는 것도 아나요?
I think it's not really famous in Europe.
No, it's not. In Germany, you wouldn't imagine that the politics couldn't apologize for what happened. So we don't really know it in Europe that Japan didn't apologize. But obviously it seems something outrageous to us. Just because of everything what happened during World War II, it would be impossible to not apologize for that.
How about your feeling?
Well, my feeling is super bad that they didn't do it until now. I mean, because we live in kind of a modern world and it seems like a pride thing. So it seems really, really weird or not nice that they didn't do it.
Yeah, I think for Germany it was really necessary to apologize. Couldn't have been any other way because just so many bad things happened, and I don't know a lot about what exactly Japan did, but I guess it must have been horrible as well. And it's just crazy that they didn't give any apology for it.
일본은 대학살, 위안부, 생체 실험 등의 전쟁 범죄를 범했는데요. 히틀러와 나치가 벌인 만행과 비슷한 수준의 범죄인 것 같나요?
It should be still equal to what happened in Europe, definitely, especially with the comfort woman. What happened in Europe is really pushed, you know, in history, and just what happened in Japan, it is just not so much known. But it's still something you should definitely talk about in history class in school, definitely. I mean, in Europe, and everyone in school learns about it. They teach you from bottom to the top about it, so you get really aware of it, and they even kind of still make you feel guilty.
But I think in Germany, with the Second World War, the Nazis did was the Holocaust against the Jewish. it's in a way an uncomparable event because so many people died. It was 6 million Jews. Then still other people, like they also killed gays and gypsies and a lot of different kind of people that they didn't even see as humans. So I can imagine that what the Japanese did is horrible, but I also believe that the Holocaust and what happened there, it was so
Immense.
such a horrible thing, yes, so immense on such a huge scale. Maybe I think that's also what Jewish people think. You cannot compare it to anything else that ever happened.
Obviously, Japan needs to apologize to other Asian countries for what they did because they did colonize, they did destroy a lot of culture and stuff like that. I think maybe Japan didn't apologize because Japan is an isolated country, and at that time, it was the superpower of the region. It didn't have the need to apologize, but now that is not so much the case, and they need to apologize despite the fact that the Japanese people don't seem to be very informed of atrocities committed during the war.
그럼 독일은 일본과 반대 상황이어서 사죄를 한 건가요?
Yeah, and also like I think they were kind of forced to do so because they had a lot to lose at that time and did lose a lot after the war. Germany was very much condemned for what they caused, and I think the Nazi Party was seen as like guilty and just bad for what they did.
독일에서 나치 문양을 사용하거나 나치나 히틀러를 찬양하는 것은 범죄입니다. 반면에 일본은 일반 국민뿐만 아니라 아베 총리 등 국가 고위 관료들까지 야스쿠니 신사 참배를 하고 있는 상황에 대해서는 어떻게 생각하세요?
Wow, that's really crazy. Even in modern politics, they still make use of it and they actually support it. In my opinion, it's kind of backward. You could never do such thing in Germany.
I think for German politicians it's actually necessary to really say that you're against that. You have to identify yourself against this like Nazi idea. You can't be connected to it in any way or you will be really disrespected.
That everything you do in German politics, you have to be really careful what you say because you will always be connected with this kind of Nazi idea.
Can I ask you a question as well? So when you kind of meet Japanese people, do you still think about them as like committing these crimes, or it's not connected?
We are thinking
at all?
about that, but we didn't talk because Japanese don't want to talk about that.
Can I also ask you something? Sorry. Because I'm just doing in my Korean studies a lot about the colonization period of Korea. And actually some authors say Japan brought a lot of modernization and a lot of positive things into Korea. But a lot of Korean nationalists, of course, say they also did horrible things and people were oppressed and so on. So how do you think about that?
좋은 질문이네요. 독일 여성분께 저의 의견을 말하자면 현재 한국의 경제적, 정치적 성장의 원동력을 일제 식민지 시대에서 찾는 역사 관점인 식민지 근대화론과 내재적으로 발전하고 있던 조선사회가 일제에 의해 수탈당함으로써 발전을 방해받았다는 식민지 수탈론은 과거부터 논쟁거리였습니다. 그래서 저는 일제시대의 근대화가 시작되긴 했지만 탄압, 수탈, 식민지배를 위한 근대화였으므로 산업이 발전하더라도 기형적인 형태가 되었다고 생각합니다. 실제로 산업 공장에서 운영자나 기술자들은 주로 일본인들이었으며 한국인들은 단순한 노동자에 불과했습니다. 이러한 논의와 연구는 의미 있다고 생각합니다. 하지만 이러한 논의와 일본의 과거사에 대한 사죄를 요구하는 것과는 별개의 문제라고 생각합니다. 식민 지배로 인한 근대화나 산업화의 기여도에 유무와는 상관없이 대학살, 위안부, 생체실험, 강제징용, 수탈, 강제합병, 역사왜곡에 대해서 사죄를 요구할 수 있고 사죄받을 권리가 있습니다.
It's because the Japanese people, like I said, don't know the depth of the atrocities committed during the war. They don't know the full story of what those people that they worshipped did. That's why I think they think it's okay, and especially like in the Western hemisphere, we knew that Japan was not an ally with us. We knew that we were fighting against Japan, but we didn't know much more than that. That information, if you told it to like an average American, they wouldn't know that people worship these people or like they celebrate them.
The shrine, like a lot of soldiers are buried there, right? And also some of the really bad
bad leader like Hitler.
Yeah, exactly. It seems just a weird, seems strange. I think it's like an important spot in the Japan history. So it's good to visit, but you have to have the right mindset. People go there and try to get in touch with the topic is good, but you shouldn't pay tribute to all of these guys.
I think it's really wrong. I think they should not do that. there is still some kind of conflict between Korea, Japan, China, Japan,
Yes.
and they should try to solve this conflict and they should try to apologize. I think that's the next step they should do. Otherwise, there's gonna be this conflict always.
일본처럼 독일도 히틀러 같은 전쟁 범죄자들을 기리며 어떻게 되나요? 아니면 유럽에서 히틀러나 나치즘을 찬양하면 어떻게 되죠?
I think that they will have to leave European Union. Also, their economic situation will go
They'll
bad.
be
Yeah, because
isolated.
That wouldn't happen. It's illegal to support it. Wearing the banner, it's illegal. I mean, you can do it for like if you do like a documentary or a movie, but just out of pure personal belief, it's not allowed.
Wow, that's something. I mean, right now we have to be really careful what will happen, especially in German or in general in European politics, because there are a lot of right-wing movements in France as well, in a lot of other countries as well in Europe. Yeah,
Austria, Switzerland, Sweden,
well.
Holland.
Yeah.
A lot of European countries start to have these more right-wing movements. And actually I think it's stronger in a lot of other countries, like outside of Germany, because in Germany people are more careful with this kind of idea now, because they're still aware.
Sensitive, yeah.
More sensitive, still more aware. So I think for us the movement is slower, but in a lot of other countries they're developing these kind of groups, political groups and ideas.
So I would not say that it is impossible, something like that to happen, but still for a lot of people it would be impossible just because of everything that happened during the Second World War. And everyone in Germany, I mean most of the people really don't want to get connected to this kind of idea because they're really against Nazi people. But still, especially what is happening right now with all the immigrants coming to Europe, a lot of people just have a lot of fear and it's really pushed by politics and that's really bad. So we still have to see what happens, but I don't know, I wouldn't exclude that kind of idea. Have to be careful, I think. Everything just started, in my opinion, maybe 2 years, 3 years ago. Yeah. So let's say 5 years ago, people would have said, no, we would never connect to this kind of idea, to this Nazi right-wing thinking. But nowadays, they still kind of think like we don't want so many immigrants in our country.
만약 독일이 사죄를 하지 않았다면 지금처럼 EU에서 영향력 있는 국가가 될 수 있었을까요?
I don't think so. They could be. Even their economic situation and their political situation would be lower for sure. It's because they apologized. Now we don't have any negative feelings towards them. Even if they are the most important country in European Union, we don't have any problem with that. But probably if they didn't do that, we still would have this kind of problem.
Probably not, right?
Probably not.
Yeah. So if they wouldn't have just said anything to these other countries, probably Germany would be quite isolated because I mean they are right in the center, right? So all the countries around, they were affected badly by the Germans in the World War. There would probably still be a lot of friction between them, so they couldn't work as they do right now together. Probably would have been a lot more difficulties for Germany to get where they are right now. Yeah.
It was just too extreme what happened. So it wouldn't have been internationally wide, it wouldn't have been accepted to not get an apology for what happened.
We had the US and then the Soviet Union that were there as the powers that organized our states. The US wanted to get money from Germany, like reparations for the war, and that's why they helped them to develop their economy, because otherwise there was no money to pay back. So kind of from this inferior position that we apologized, and we had to because it was horrible, and then from there, because they needed us to develop to get the money, then I think Germany developed out of this again.
일본의 사죄가 없다면 유럽처럼 아시아 연합을 만들기란 불가능하다고 생각하세요?
Maybe it's gonna be hard to manage it. It's not gonna work well, I think.
If Japan apologizes, it would be easier for the countries to start working together without any further friction between the countries. They would be able to maybe function better with each other and they would be more open to relations with each other.
I think there is a need of an apology. If you want to be a union, you kind of have to get onto the same page.
I think it's also about trust and forgiving, because I could imagine that if you had these kind of things done to your country by another country and you never have the feeling that they apologize, can you really forget about it? Can you really get over it?
Yeah.
And I think to trust this country and to accept them to be on the same level as you need them to apologize.
Yeah.
앞으로 한국 정부와 한국인 그리고 일본 정부와 일본인은 어떻게 해야 할까요?
It should start from the government. The general public do not know about this problem usually. So I think Japanese government who should start to educate them should apologize to other countries. And also maybe they should educate themselves. Even if they come to Korea or if they go to China or if they go to Europe, I think they probably can hear that they started Second World War and then they can hear some information about it. But they usually don't want to listen. They usually don't change their mind. So I think that's the problem.
I think I heard that they already apologized in some way, but it wasn't like properly. Germany, in the school we learn every year, like in history, there's the topic, Second World War. And every time, like people really get told what happened back then and how it could happen. And so we really get educated on to let this never happen again. Just like the Germans, the Japanese should educate their country in order what happened in the Second World War.
They should feel sorry. They should know what their country did to other countries.
yeah.
But I think specifically it's the job of the Japanese government to make a formal apology, because once the government apologizes, its people will also apologize.
But I think, how do you get the Japanese government to do it? It's hard, because how can a government change if the people don't change their ideas first? Because they need to vote for the government. Your vote will change what your government does, but how can you change if your government only teaches you what they want you to know?
Exactly.
So it's nothing changed each other, right?
But it should come from the Korean government. So
How?
Just a speech. Just a speech.
Poor President Park doesn't even remember what the other question was.
그 아까 저기 하도 말씀을 오래 하셔갖고 질문이 그러니까
Just a speech to the internationally or to the Japanese people to make them more aware of that cause. I mean, a speech could be a good way internationally.
I think maybe things can change, because a lot of people can educate themselves now with the internet, for example, and with traveling to other countries. So maybe if there's more kind of cultural exchange between Japan and Korea as well, then people will become more aware and it can be natural transition.
일본은
독일을
본 받으세요.
메르켈 독일 총리는 독일의 침략 역사를 반성하는 것은 고통스러웠지만 옳았다라고 말했습니다. 그러나 일본 아베 총리는 침략에는 정의가 없다. 어느 쪽에서 보느냐에 따라 다르다 라고 말했습니다. 메르켈 총리는 일본을 방문해 독일의 나치 과거사 정리가 하해 전제가 되었다며 독일이 이웃 국가와 하해했기에 유럽연합을 만들 수 있었다 라고 말했습니다. 너무나 다른 두 총리의 발언, 여러분, 정답은 무엇일까요? 뒤에 나오는 영상은 꽃뱀 조직 검거를 직접 시도해본 영상입니다. 재밌게 봐주세요. 장기매매, 마약, 도박, 청부살인, 인신매매, 성범죄, 꽃뱀 사기 같은 범죄부터 가벼운 모든 범죄에 이르기까지 피해를 입으신 분들의 제보를 기다립니다. 혹은 범죄까지는 아니더라도 비도덕, 비상식적인 사건으로 인해 피해를 받으신 분들도 제보 기다립니다. 안녕하세요 여러분, 슈퍼코리아 최현중입니다. 한 시청자로부터 꽃뱀 조직에게 당했다는 제보가 들어왔습니다. 이에 제가 꽃뱀 조직이 의도적으로 낚여서 폭행과 금품가치를 당한 후 피해자 신분으로 경찰에 고소를 해서 검거를 하는 과정을 여러분들께 보여드리도록 하겠습니다. 먼저 제보자와 간단한 전화 연결부터 하도록 하겠습니다.
여보세요?
네, 동선이 최현중입니다. 실례가 안 된다면 있었던 일들을 간략하게 설명 좀 해주실 수 있나요?
채팅 어플을 하나 받아가지고 채팅을 하게 되었는데 19살 고등학생이라고 이렇게 등록하신 분하고 이제 채팅을 하게 되었어요.